I have brand new Star Trek fan fiction for you. Please subscribe at the end. Captain's Log 2312.5. The Enterprise is on a rescue mission to recover 7 stranded crew members from the research vessel Andromeda. The crew was forced to transport to the surface of the planet Spector when the ship became contaminated with radiation from a defect in the warp core. The crew has been captured by the inhabitants of the planet and are being held as hostages until a ransom can be paid by Starfleet. Negotiations with the inhabitants has failed, so Kirk and his crew have been tasked to recover the crew at any cost. As the Enterprise approached the planet, a humanoid being appeared on the bridge, dressed in a military uniform, and addressed Kirk. "Captain," the being said, "my name is General Loran from the planet Spector. This is your only warning to turn back, or your ship will be destroyed." Kirk stood to address the alien, standing near the front of the view screen. "I have my orders," Kirk replied. "How did you transport onto my bridge? We have shields up full strength." "Your shields are of no consequence to us," Loran replied. "We will execute a hostage every Earth hour until you turn around, unless you pay us what we ask." "I am not authorized to negotiate with you," Kirk snapped back. "Give us our crew, and we will be on our way." "Our crew had no choice but to transport to your planet, and you know it. You examined the ship, and we have no history of conflict. What changed?" "If you must know, our planet is not rich in natural resources and relies on trade for a living. Trade has diminished to a trickle, and we must rely on other means to survive. What you are doing is basically piracy," Kirk replied. "Basically," Loran stated, as fact. "We have no options, and we refuse to starve to death. You're lucky we don't capture your ship and sell it off for parts." "I don't know what to tell you," Kirk said. "I have orders, and they don't include leaving without my crew." Spock spoke up and said, "We seem to be at an impasse." "Not exactly," Loran replied. "I have instructions, if you refuse. And we anticipated you would refuse." Loran tapped the top of his bracelet, and Kirk, Spock, McCoy, and Sulu disappeared from the bridge and appeared in a detention center on the planet in a holding area. "Captain," another unfamiliar voice called out. The voice was that of the head of security and council member Tidron. "Welcome to the planet Spector and your new home." Kirk looked around at the many security guards posted around the room and could see the crew being held hostage on the video monitors mounted on the walls. He reached to feel for his phaser and found it missing. "We had to take your weapon," Tidron said, "for the safety of our staff. You understand." McCoy, pissed, yelled, "What the hell is going on here? When Starfleet gets word of what you've done, we will turn your planet to dust." "We may not have the technology of Starfleet, but we have bargained with others who have provided us with all we need to keep you at bay. We are not worried," Tidron replied. "I would still like to know how you were able to transport us with our shields up," Kirk asked. "Like I said," Tidron replied, "we have our ways." "What about my ship?" Kirk asked. "I have over 400 crew members I'm responsible for." "We may not be able to sell your ship for parts, but we can ransom your crew," Tidron replied. "We can put a premium price on their heads, and if not met, put your ship into a slow, decaying orbit that will light up our sky as it burns." "My crew has orders to defend themselves and take leave if necessary," Kirk replied. "I am sure Scott is monitoring everything going on." Just then, Chief Security Officer Dickerson and 5 of his crew materialized in the office with phasers drawn, taking aim at the security guards. "Hands behind your backs," Dickerson yelled, shoving one of the guards up against the wall. The Enterprise security crew rounded up and took down the guards and forced them into a cell. "We need to find their transport center before they beam us into oblivion," McCoy said. "Already done," Dickerson yelled. "We compromised their transporter before we beamed down." "Good work," Dickerson, Kirk said. "Did you bring any extra phasers by any chance?" "No, sir. We did not know you were without, Dickerson replied. Kirk turned to Tidron, who was sitting behind his desk. Guess your technology isn't as good as you thought. Can we beam the hostages out of their cells, Sulu asked, or do we need to open the doors and get them out? Spock replied, we would have best results if we were all together. That way the coordinates would be more consistent, and we don't know if there's any sort of buffer that would interfere with the transporter beam. We need to gather outside in a clear view of the sky. Kirk took a phaser from one of Dickerson's crew and pointed it at Tidron. Open the doors to the cells and let out the hostages. Tidron pushed a button on the console of his desk, and the doors opened on the view screen. There, Captain. Your crew is free. Contact Starfleet and let them know we will have their hostages in our custody, soon, Kirk said. What about him, McCoy asked. Shouldn't we take him into custody? We can hold him until Starfleet determines what to do, Kirk replied. Dickerson, contact the Enterprise and get us back as soon as possible. Please, right there should appear some sort of a link right next to my painting of that Skeksis, and you can click on a playlist of all of my Star Trek fan fiction. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe. Please subscribe and go through, ding, 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 binge watch all of my stories that I wrote on your big screen TV. And thanks for being here.